Attention YouTube reviewer, this is a 20-round magazine. Hello there, people of the internet. How's everybody doing today? I'm doing alright, thanks for asking. Support GOA and support FPC. We need them right now more than ever. I don't do a lot of reviews on budget AR-15s. I'm more of a military surplus kind of guy myself. I just like the old school wood stock bolt action rifles. That's just my forte. But I just so happened to come across this Delton AR-15. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. People always get on to me about pronouncing things. Delton, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If I'm not, I'm sure somebody's going to tell me down in the comments down below. But I picked up a Delton AR-15 5.56. It's got a 1 in 9 twist barrel. We're going to go ahead and talk about the specs behind it, my thoughts on it, etc., etc. Like I said, not really my forte to review these kind of things, but hey, I have my hands on it, and it basically sounded like a really fun time, and I got a chance to shoot some 5.56. I went ahead and I modified the magazine. It is a 20-round magazine, and that 20-round magazine is going to be my designated YouTube magazine for whenever I run my AR-15 platform rifles. This is a semi-automatic rifle, not a machine gun, contrary to what a lot of the YouTube reviewers seem to think these rifles are. Alright, let me go ahead and remove the spoon before I stab myself in the eye and become even more blind here. Alright, so this right here is the rifle that I picked up. I just so happened to find myself in a situation where I could get my hands on this thing. Like I said, I don't do a whole lot of budget AR-15s just because they're not really my forte. I have everything that I need if some situation were to pop up where I would need something like this, but I did not pass on the opportunity to go ahead and pick this thing up. So I do have another AR-15 that I've shown off on this channel on numerous occasions, but it's got a polymer receiver. This one right here is a nice sturdy aluminum. Let me go ahead and look up the actual specs on the aluminum receiver real quick. Alright, I'm reading it right off of this website here just so I make sure I don't mess up these numbers. You give me numbers, I mess it up every single time. 7075 T6 aluminum, which is apparently an extraordinarily good quality aluminum. Now this rifle, whenever I got it, was like as bare bones as could possibly be. I threw on a carry handle just because I had a carry handle. I threw on a front sight just because I had a front sight. I was expecting this to kind of look like an abomination because this is not really the style of rifle that you see a carry handle or something like this. Like, you don't really see this kind of setup on a rifle set up like this with like an M-lock handguard up front, and just the aesthetics of the rifle don't really match the various things that I've done to it. But I'll be honest, I am kind of digging the way that it looks. It's a horrible abomination, but in a good way, in my personal opinion. Like I said, M-lock handguard up here. You can go ahead and throw on whatever it is that you feel like throwing on there. What I'm likely going to do is get myself some Picatinny rails that I can go ahead and just strap onto this thing, because getting specific attachments that directly attach to your M-lock rail are more expensive than just getting attachments that would only attach to a Picatinny rail. So I'd much rather just get Picatinny adapters, and that would save me a lot of money in the long run, and I'd have way more options in terms of customization ability. I don't know if customability is a word or not, or if that's something I just made up. Alright, now I notice we have a heavier barrel than what I'm used to, because I'm used to rocking things that run like an M4 style barrel. This right here is not an M4 style barrel. It does not have the M4 style indentation that you would use for mounting grenade launchers, but it does, however, have an A2 flash hider. I almost call it a muzzle brake. A2 flash hider. These right here are extraordinarily common on these low-end, cheap bargain barrel AR-15s. It's got an A2 style grip on it. Basically, like, you can customize this rifle any way that you want because it's just standard AR-15 parts. They're very much interchangeable with anything it is that you want to swap them out for if you're wanting to rock anything different. But this right here is plenty good enough for me. I might throw on some different accessories later down the road. For example, I might possibly throw on an actual muzzle brake versus just the A2 flash hider here. But for right now, this right here is just fine. Barrel's a 1-in-9 twist. I pretty much only exclusively fire steel case ammunition from any kind of rifle like this just because of the price point of the ammunition, unless it's in like some serious situation. Most of your steel case ammunition is going to be 55 grain. 1-in-9 twist, you know, that is fantastic at stabilizing the 55 grain ammunition. 55 grain is like a good middle ground. A 1-in-9, 1-in-8, and 1-in-7 twist can all very easily stabilize a 55 grain. Some do it better than others, I'll give you that, but a 55 grain can be stabilized all the way down the list until you start like getting a like 1-in-12. I'm pretty sure that they'll be all right with it, but you'll start running into issues. But we're not going to go ahead and talk about the lesser common twist rates. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll make a video on AR-15 twist rates and what ammo goes through them properly. But I digress. I almost exclusively fire 55 grain with the exception of the occasional 62 grain. Maybe I'll get my hands on some M855, you know, and run it down range from time to time. But like I said, for the most part, because all I do is range running, steel case ammunition, 55 grain, this right here is going to stabilize that just fine. Not only that, but I never shoot past 100 yards here at this range, so 55 grain stabilization, 62 grain stabilization, various twist rates. We're going to see very minimal accuracy changes out to 100 yards. You know, I'm not going to be running past that, so the spread is not that important to me. Not only that, but my accuracy as a shooter, I am less accurate than the loss of accuracy that you would get swapping from one grain to the other or from one twist rate to the other. What else am I going to talk about? The barrel itself is not chrome lined or anything like that. It is manganese phosphated. I hope I pronounced those words correctly. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not a specialist whenever it comes to the pronunciations of different finishes that they put on these various barrels. Manganese phosphated. Hopefully you guys understand what it is that I'm trying to at least relay here. Those are not great for long-term situations, but as far as I'm concerned, this AR-15 barrel is going to last way long enough for me to go ahead and enjoy it. If I ever put enough rounds through this rifle to wear out this barrel, or if the humidity gets bad enough and I, for some reason, let this barrel rust away into nothing, which I'm very good at not doing with all the military surplus firearms that I have laying around. If this barrel, for some reason, ever decides to not function very well for me anymore, AR-15 barrels are so numerous out there, and I can replace this thing with absolutely whatever it is that I feel like replacing it with. Bolt carrier group, I believe, is also a manganese phosphate bolt carrier group, so you're going to have the same issues that you're going to want to watch out for, but like I said, it is definitely not a concern that most people would have. I mean, if you're going to go out and burn like 1,000 rounds through one of these in like a month, then maybe barrel life will start to be something that concerns you. But for somebody like me or somebody like the average shooter, I don't exactly take these out every day to go plinking with them. Like I said, I'm a military surplus nut. I'll take my Mosin out over something like this every single day of the week. Alright, what else can I say about this thing? We have a flat top Picatinny rail running along the top of the rifle, so you can go ahead and set whatever scope, optic, mounts, sights, whatever it is that you want on there, as long as it goes onto a Picatinny rail. As you can see, I stuck whatever I wanted on there. I did not have a proper rear sight, so I literally just threw the carry handle on there because it was what I had, and like I said, I won't lie, I'm kind of digging the way that it looks. M4, 6 position, buttstock on it. You can go ahead and position this however it is that you want. Since we have the M-LOK rail system up here, you can go ahead and throw on, you know, any sort of sling swivel that you want on there, but it does not come with one. That is not just this single one attached to the buttstock itself. This is the only sling swivel that you're going to find. It's not even a swivel, it doesn't swivel at all. Only sling attachment that you're going to find on this rifle. Buffer tube is a commercial style buffer tube, I believe. Besides that, what else do I feel like covering? The muzzle obviously is threaded since we have this A2 flash hider on it. I figured I'd go ahead and throw that out there. I'm not positive on what the thread pitch is, but I'm assuming that it's one of the very standard thread pitches around here. I know on a lot of AR-15s, you will not have any sort of protective surfaces or bulges or anything coming out along the magazine well, or not magazine well, the magazine, I'm having a brain fart here, the button that you push to detach the magazine from the rifle, but on this rifle right here on the lower receiver, you have those little bulges out there to help protect the magazine release button. Of course, you have your standard dust cover on there, nothing real special about that. I mean, everything about this rifle seems as normal for an AR-15 as it gets. It's a mil-spec receiver, so you can go ahead and customize this thing however it is that you feel like doing it. 2-position safety, not a 3-position, unfortunately. It is a 2-position safety. It feels firm. I only have about 100 rounds or so through this rifle. No malfunctions, all steel case. I got it brand new. With the situation that I had gotten it from, it was in fact brand new, but I did not clean it. I did not do anything to it besides spray some oil in it. I had a can of Remington oil, just the Remington green can gun oil stuff that I use to spray all my stuff down to help, you know, cycle and prevent wear, etc., etc. I very literally just opened this thing up, sprayed it down, closed it, ran 100 rounds of steel case ammunition through it. Ran it all just fine, no hiccups, so I'm not sure what the long-term longevity on this rifle is going to be, but I imagine that we are both going to find out together. Like I said, the safety, very positive, seems to function very well. Go ahead and show clear right here. Safety is engaged. No fire. Fire, very, very, I don't know if I'd call it a good trigger, but I've definitely felt ARs that had worse triggers. Yeah. Rough guesstimations, 6, maybe 7 pound triggers. I'm pretty sure these take the standard M4 triggers, but this one feels a little bit lighter than a standard M4 triggers because I've ran several rifles that had standard M4 triggers in them, and this one definitely feels lighter than that. Here we go with the numbers again. The bolt and carrier is an 8620 steel carrier assembly with a Carpenter 158 bolt. I never would have remembered that to announce this on here. It's a mil-spec, I got company here. It's a mil-spec carrier, bolt carrier, so like I said, you can go ahead and swap that out for basically anything it is that you feel like using. I think I've pretty much ran out of things to say on this thing. I've talked about pretty much everything that this rifle here has to offer. The gas system, I believe, is a mid-length gas system. I haven't actually measured it out. It's either mid-length or carbine, but checking it out, looking at it right now, I'm fairly certain that I can say that it's mid-length, but it might be carbine. Like I said, I won't know until I actually measure that out, so just keep that in mind whenever you decide to go ahead and check these rifles out, if you decide to go ahead and check these rifles out. This one here, rough guesstimations, 6.5, maybe 7 pounds unloaded. It's an aluminum receiver, so that very greatly decreases the weight in comparison to something with like a steel receiver. I've handled plenty of steel receiver ARs, and my goodness, those things are very heavy. However, because they fire a very small projectile, they don't have a whole lot of recoil behind them because of their weight. So one of the perks. This right here definitely has more recoil than one of those heavier ARs, but it is far from not manageable, especially because one of my other ARs is a polymer receiver. That thing is very lightweight, and I've got extensive use on that one, and that is the one that I'm very familiar with, like I said. So I'm comparing the recoil on this one to something like that, as opposed to a steel. So it's like a good Goldilocks level of recoil, not manageable, but not noticeable. Does that make sense? I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is chambered in 5.56, so you can fire 223 through it safely. There are some people out there who will debate that, but I mean, come on now. I fired, you know, tens of thousands of rounds of 223 through, you know, 5.56 chamber rifles, and they run it absolutely just fine. So I think it's a safe bet to say that you can do that. Don't run 5.56 through 223, but you can run 223 through 5.56 all day long. Alright, besides that, until I put more rounds through this thing and have more experience with this thing, I can't go ahead and give more insight behind it. Like I said, I've only got about 100 rounds through it. 5 boxes of steel case ammunition. I'm going to run several different types of ammunition through this thing. I'm going to, you know, put it through its paces. You know, we'll check back in whenever I got, oh, I don't know, 1,000 rounds or so through it. I can't say much in terms of accuracy because I myself am not all that accurate, but I can hit the steel at 100 yards, and the steel's probably about 12 inches or so. I get 4, 5, 6 inch groups depending on how tired I am, how windy it is outside, because I just kind of lean up against the tree, and if the tree's swaying, I'm swaying, so my accuracy is very much dependent on the weather outside, etc., etc. So like I said, I can't very well give much indication towards the accuracy of this thing. For the most part, these rifles, specifically the Deltons, people say that they get roughly 3 MOA for an AR-15, just a rack grade, bottom barrel, budget AR-15. That's not that terrible, and it's more than enough to handle the job that the AR-15 is intended to handle. Not exactly a precision rifle, but I imagine that if you were to stick like an appropriate match grade barrel on it, or, I mean, you could modify this thing to be pretty accurate, I'm sure, but then you start getting into higher prices, and you may as well just get yourself a higher end AR-15. For the price point that I spent on this thing, I'd say it was worth the money, but like I said, I've got very limited experience with this thing, so we'll check back in whenever I have more experience with it. So thanks for watching, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, description down below is a link to all sorts of different stuff. That being said, I'm gonna go inside, refresh my coffee because it's got ants in it now. Oh boy, I shouldn't have had that on the ground for as long as I did. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. Shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.